Hey, hi, Jill. Thanks for joining me on my new little news station I've created.
Hi, Madeline. Thanks so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I just want to thank you for reaching out after Miami. You guys, I met Jill Krutick in Miami when I was down there for Art Week and Art Basel. As you guys know, I took artists to Aqua, and of course, I was out and about meeting other people. And we went to a show at at Manolis Projects in Lemon City, which is a working studio and gallery by the Stephen Manolis. And this is where I met Jill Krutick. She had some beautiful pieces up, and I didn't put two and two together when I was looking at her beautiful book that I now have as a coffee table book. And then she walked over to me and we just started chatting. And after that, she reached out, and it took me a while to get back, but now here we are. So Jill, will you
Hi.
please introduce yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here today. I'm an abstract painter. It's been quite a journey getting here. I started in finance. Worked on Wall Street for many years. I helped take Warner Music Group public, ran investor relations, worked in the corporate world for many years, and finally became a full-time artist 10 years ago. So this has been a very exciting journey. I did paint as a child and on and off through my life, but have now dedicated myself to this ultimate passion full time. And I'm in my studio where I paint every day, and it's been a really fun trip.
Yeah, seriously. And from what I've learned from you over the last few calls, it has been a journey and an incredibly successful one. And we had kind of realized that a lot of that success is due to networking, persistence, and just understanding that you're a human on this planet interacting with other humans, whether it's personally or in business. And so I would love to deem the topic of this chat networking and get your take for a few minutes on the importance of networking for artists at any level, any age.
Yes, I mean, networking is something that I've built my entire career around. From finance to business, and now in the art world, I'm able to apply all these skills in a very unique way. So I love to paint, but it can't only be for yourself. You want to share it with the world. And to get placement of your work in special places, it all happens through networking. So I begin with alumni networking is one important thing. So wherever you went to school, networking with the people who went to the same school is an amazing platform. Networking with people at Art Basel, how I met Madeline, following up with people, keeping a mailing list, creating MailChimps where you're communicating with people fairly regularly, having a website that you populate with lots of current information, having an active Instagram presence and Facebook. All of these are aspects of networking.
Yes. Oh man, you mentioned enough stuff to keep an artist busy during this whole quarantine. So if any of you are bored out there, no excuses. So what have you been doing during this quarantine in terms of, I know you've had some shows that have been postponed. You had mentioned some amazing museum projects that you've been a part of, solo exhibitions. And so if you can just kind of touch on that, where you were headed, how quarantine has kind of shifted that and what you're doing in light of everything that's happening to, because I mean, you still have opportunities coming. You've got like 3 buns in the oven right now. You're just telling me about.
Yeah, no, it's still percolating. So even though the world looks like it's shut down, not only am I creating here every day, last year was a phenomenal year for me as an artist. I was in 3 different museum shows. 2 were solo, 1 was a group show overseas in Mallorca, Spain. 1 was down in the Coral Springs Museum of Art in Florida and out in Montana at the Yellowstone Art Museum. So last year was just a wild year. And actually, you know, I think about how did these shows actually come to pass? And again, it's all through networking, and we can talk about that in more detail. But during the quarantine, I had 3 major projects planned, which are still going to go ahead. So there's 1 solo exhibition down in Washington, D.C., which has been postponed and will reignite, hopefully, when the world comes back online. Also, I had applied to an ad show that's going to be billboards in the World Trade Center. It's through an MVVO advertising group. And this is a totally digital opportunity, which is going to be happening now in September. And there's also another possible museum show on the horizon down south. So there's a lot of good stuff planned, and I'm still working towards all of those things coming to fruition, which I can do here in this gallery.
Yeah. So would you like to touch on how to, like, what you're working on to make these things come to fruition? What does that even mean?
Yes, well, it's continuing to add to my inventory. So I work in lots of different series of paintings. I started with more geometric work, which was very tied into my analytical days. And those were much more tapestry-like style paintings, and they morphed into what I call ice cube paintings, which are also geometric. And each painting has a story or a meaning behind it. Some of them are reminiscent of dreamscape, where time spent on the water, or Shangri-La, imaginary places you want to go to and disappear, or even swirl paintings, which are very connected to my musical background. So all these kinds of paintings come together in really like a symphony of painting. And I start with one idea, I could end up in a completely different area.
So that's the painting part, but any other behind the scenes that people need to know about for working towards the actual ignition of a show and an event?
Yes, I mean, all of that happens through networking. So it's having art critics write about your work, hopefully having them try to champion you into certain shows. That happened for me with Donald Cuspit writing about my work and actually recommending me to a gallery in New York City, George Burgess Gallery. So that was a very exciting moment. But again, this all happened because I decided that this was really important to take the first step. So getting visibility for your work opens another door. Each door opens another door. I'll give you another example. Having graduated Wharton undergrad at University of Pennsylvania, they have a phenomenal alumni database. So I go online there and I log in, and you can put in a search term. So I put in museum. So out pops all of these people and executives who worked at museums who went to this school. And I write emails and I introduce myself, I introduce my work. I've also put together a group. I work with Neil Blumstein, and we together with the Wharton Arts Network host events. And again, these are networking events. So we reached out to a museum director in Aspen, actually, Heidi, who was previously at Aspen Art Museum, and she was an alum of Penn and helped us put together a program in New York City for all the alum in the area at the Flag Art Foundation, which was very successful. And we've done similar programs at the Whitney Museum with the current chief operating officer, co-chief operating officer, CFO there, who's also an alumni. So there's just so much opportunity if you do the hard work.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be so hard. It can be fun. I mean, these artists, you guys, you're pitching yourself, your paintings, your baby, your skills, your everything to people all over the world, and it's not necessarily something to be afraid of. This is a really fun opportunity for you to get better. Even if you don't hear back, it's an opportunity for you to do it again. There's how many billions of people on this planet right now, and everyone is on their computer. People are actually checking their emails. And so when you send these emails, you know, how long are they? Do you have a pitch deck? What's your process of cold calling an individual that you found through an alumni network?
Well, for an alumni network in particular, that would be an email that would be sent out, would be describing the purpose of the Wharton Arts Network. So it's easier if it's under a moniker of something else, as opposed to just a direct pitch as an artist.
Yeah.
So the point is to make the connections, meet the people, get to know them, and then they become interested in what you do. So this can be cultivated over weeks, months, or even years, where you have to take the time to reach out to people, stay in touch with people, share new work with people. So it could be an email pitch where hosting an event, we'd love you to participate, be a speaker, and they'd love to hear more about what you do. Everyone's actually very interested to learn about what everybody does.
Yeah.
And if you say, what do you do? You could probably fill, lots of rooms with lots of people. So that's really what it's all about.
You know what? It's directly in relationship to sales, because if I'm selling something, if I'm selling a program or a package, I can't just like reach out to someone and be like, hey, here's my thing, buy it. It's like, well, that's not how it works. You need to get a hold of someone, have genuine interest in them. If you don't have genuine interest in other people, like, you might be in the wrong field. You have to be genuinely interested in what they're doing and who they are. And then you don't have to, that's a really good point, because then you don't have to cold pitch them. They will ask you what you do. And then no matter what, you're creating potentially a friendship out of it, at least for now, some human connection to like keep you sane during these times.
And it's more than just school alumni to reach out to. I mean, it's people you've worked with. So Stephen Manolis, who you mentioned, Stephen and I crossed paths when I worked on Wall Street. I was a young analyst. He was running real estate finance at Salomon Brothers. And we reconnected decades later at a retirement party for a co-colleague. And from that event, Stephen and I had become great painting colleagues. And he has introduced me to a whole swath of people in his world, and I've done the same in my world. And it's amazing how all these opportunities can percolate from these relationships. Because frankly, getting to know artists is a very great thing. And that too opens so many doors.
So being a part of a network where you are getting to know other artists and you can then collaborate within that network seems to be like one of the greatest benefits that people can do right now.
Absolutely. And really reaching out on Instagram, trying to take your work and put it in a different light, share current work, how you're feeling given the current state of events. People are very interested in what are artists currently producing.
Mm-hmm.
Has your work changed? Why has it changed? How are you feeling? Because a lot of that comes out in your work, whether or not you choose to do that. And people are very interested to see that.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point. Work created during the COVID crisis. Talk about a museum show, like that is going to be in museums all over the world forever. This is something that people are going to be talking about forever. And the beautiful thing about art is that it creates a snapshot of emotion within that specific time period, which like no other medium does that. The news can't do that, writing can do that, but art just does it in a different way that really like sucks you in.
Yes, it does. It captures all your emotion, how you're feeling, and you're able to show it in a way that's unique to you and only you. And that's what makes it so special, because everybody has their own fingerprint.
Yeah, love that. Especially if you are doing some finger painting. Fingerprint. This has been such amazing information. And I want to hear your take on what MFA students should be doing right now, because the doors to their schools have closed. Most of them have not received their end of program shows. And so a lot of people are just sitting on bodies of work. What can they be doing right now? What advice can you give MFA graduates right now?
Yeah, well, that's a really interesting question, because I know it's affected so many people. The key is not to believe that any doors have closed, that different doors have opened. And if you're creative, you can take your portfolio and put it out there for the world to see. You could consider augmented reality programs. Matterport is one that I've used. We're going to be posting one today of my studio where you can see the work hanging on the walls. Also, I'm sure you're very familiar with Photoshop. Most programs really develop those skills. And you could take public spaces or other free spaces that you're allowed to sort of use and Photoshop your paintings in those spaces and create either video or photographs and put it out there on Instagram. Put together your portfolio in a way that should be top-notch. Get recommendations from your professors if you haven't already. Get those online in your LinkedIn and drive traffic to your website. Have your portfolio, perfect that the best you can, your website, drive the traffic, Instagram, and really make it happen. We're our own marketing executive, so to speak. And if you all have fantastic content and it's believing in yourself and putting it out there.
It's beautiful. And it takes a little bit of effort, but it should be something that you guys are loving and wanting to do. And if this is a part of business, you guys, that's really, really difficult for you, I encourage you to create ritual around it, because there's always going to be things in life that we don't want to do. And so when I'm like yesterday, I had to go through and just delete a bunch of emails and like organize my email. Made myself a bougie dinner before. I took a luxurious bath after, and I like dressed up for it. You know, I had to make it. That's just me. Like, find your own way, like whatever your reward is. You know, it's a full moon. I'm like bathing under the moon, but I had to make it fun, and I had to kind of prepare myself for it, because it's been something that I've been dreading. That's really, really necessary for the back end of my business to be organized. And so create ritual around these things. If it's something that you just want to hire a manager to do, let's say, I know a lot of people that I speak with, they know all these things. They think they know all these things, but they don't want to do them. They want to hire someone else to do it for them. But I don't know if now is the time for you guys to dig into your pockets and hire a manager. And so you really have to consider, like, okay, can I do this? Yes, you can.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all the resources are on our computers. It's really phenomenal. There are so many classroom training things that we can all do to better ourselves. Absolutely.
Yeah. So before we go, I think one thing that people would want to know is like the best way to drive traffic to their portfolio, because a lot of people have had, you know, they have the online portfolio. They may or may not be a part of a network, but they haven't, you know, their art's been up for years and they haven't really seen any sales. And so they've got the portfolio piece down, but they're not driving traffic to it. And that kind of ties back into the beginning of this topic, which is networking. So if there's any traffic driving advice you'd like to give, I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes from one step at a time. So obviously you want to constantly refresh your content and keep it, fresh, lively. Sometimes sense of humor can help. But also it could be just writing to lots of people that you know to introduce them to your work individually. So it can be sort of, step by step, and you grow your audience over time. It takes time to build an audience, but you want an audience that's engaged and really feels connected to your work.
Yeah. Don't just add some email address online to your MailChimp and have the first email to them be like an automated blast, because they'll unsubscribe immediately.
Yes, exactly. Personalized content is always the best.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That was lovely, super useful. I am going to, wherever I upload this, tag Jill Krutick's work, and you guys go ahead and follow her and just pay attention to where this amazing woman is going and where she's been, because it's a privilege to talk to you and interview you and just to learn more about where you're going and where you've been. And I think that anyone who follows you can learn something about business or life. You're you're a magnificent human. So thank you
so much. Anyone can reach out with questions. My website is jillkrutickfineart.com.
Yeah, and I'll tag that. Yeah, so it's really easy to get a hold of you. So excited to see where you go. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.